Eid al-Fitr.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Welcome to Eid al-Fitr service 2024. Sorry about the chaos, but remember, we are Muslims. We never managed to organize anything anywhere. So I'm glad we are carrying on with our usual tradition of absolute mayhem and chaos. So I hope you enjoyed Ramadan and fasting. Those of you who fasted, he said, looking suspiciously at various people in front of him. Eid service is slightly different from our normal service in that there is no azan and there is no iqama. And the prayer is said first, and then the sermon follows. Usually I try to make prayers and sermon brief on these days. There is a slight difference in the prayer as well, in that we have extra takbeers. Takbeer is the word for Allahu Akbar. So we start everything normally, and then in the first rakah, we have 7 extra prayers, extra takbeers, and in the second rakah, we have 5 extra takbeers. And then after we finish the prayer, we have a Friday sermon. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to give a separate khutbah for ladies dealing with problems and things which are particular to ladies. But these days, generally, there is just one khutbah addressed to both men and women. In fact, it's worth pointing out that it's only in the Ahmadi Jamaat, we are Lahore Ahmadi Muslims, it's only in the Ahmadi Jamaat that that Muslim women actually attend prayers, all prayers, Friday prayer, 5 daily prayers, Eid prayers, that is in the mosque. Other sects don't allow ladies into the mosque for some obscure reason. It could be that men are so afraid of their wives that they appreciate the few minutes without being bossed around. No? Okay. People are shaking their heads in the negative, so maybe that's not the reason. So let's start with the prayer. You'll only be able to see the audio on Instagram. So let's line up. Allahu Akbar. 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 Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
ربنا لك الحمد.
الله أكبر. 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 الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانهر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
ربنا
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Assalamu alaikum. تعالى يا جلال. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may guard against evil. ولا تكونوا كالتي نقضت غزلها من بعد قوة أنكافا. And be not like her who unravels her yarn, disintegrating it into pieces after she has spun it strongly. This is chapter 16, verse 92. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. The first verse I recited, I've recited every Friday because it says, gives the purpose of fasting so that you may guard against doing wrong things. And there are many wrong things. You know, stealing is wrong and beating up people is wrong and also, but forcing people into doing things is also wrong. Because in another place, God says that people set up false gods with Allah. So if Allah wanted to, do you think He could stop them from doing that? And the Quran says to the Holy Prophet Muhammad and to us, it's not your job to force people to do anything. Your job is to explain. And then it's between me and them. I haven't appointed you a guardian. It's a bit like going to school, isn't it? The teacher explains something to you in physics and chemistry or whatever the subject might be. And it is up to you whether you learn it and remember it and understand it or not. Come exam time, if you learned it and you're asked a question, you'll be able to answer it. But if you haven't learned it, if you haven't paid attention to it, if you spent your time with your laptop in your pocket, texting people, there are some people here smiling, so I know that they do it. This is why I'm in favor of mobile phones being taken away from kids when they start their school year. But anyway, that's another story. And come the exam day, you'll answer the questions correctly and you'll get a good grade. Who will benefit from that? Will the teacher benefit from that? Will your parents benefit from that? So if you do good thing, do you think Allah will benefit from that? You are the ones who will benefit from that. And you should do something good. Why? Because it is the right thing to do. Not because someone is asking you to do it or not do it. You should always tell the truth. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. And that is what's important. You see, if someone lived in a jungle for 40 years, and then he came out and he said, I never lied for 40 years. Do you think he'd be a very holy person? No. Why not? Because he lived in a jungle for 40 years. There was no opportunity to lie. The point is this. You live in the world. Teacher says to you, why are you late for school? Okay. Now, you have an option of saying, well, number one, telling the truth. I went to bed late last night because I was playing some video game and there were other people involved and I wanted to beat them. And this is why I didn't get to bed until 11 o'clock at night and then I couldn't wake up. Or you could lie and you could say, well, I'm very sorry, but my mom's car was playing up and that didn't start. And the neighbor had to come and give us a push and then it started. Yes. The point is that when you put in a situation whereby lying, you can get away with something, you don't lie. And you tell the truth. Say, I'm very sorry, miss. This is what happened. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. That is being truthful. Not if you're living in a jungle and there is no school and you don't have to go to school and you never meet anyone. Then you come out of the jungle after 40 years and you say, well, I haven't lied for 40 years. You haven't lied for 40 years because there was no reason for you to lie. There was nothing to lie about. And the other thing Ramadan teaches us is to deal with hardships. In the time-honored phrase, life is a bitch. And you're going to face many difficulties and hardships, and the temptation to do the wrong thing will be there. But Ramadan teaches you, I'm fasting, no one is looking, food is there, Dean's favorite ice cream in the red wrapper is there, but Dean is fasting, and grandma is fast asleep. He's still not going to eat it. Why? Because he's fasting, and the right thing to do is not to eat that ice cream. It's not a question about if anyone's looking or watching or not. You're doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Because it teaches you to deal with hardships. See, people say, oh, it's only a little white lie, and if it helps you get away with something, then why not? The reason why not is you tell a little lie today, then you tell a bigger one the next day, and then next week an even bigger one, and then so on. Because in your soul, in your subconscious, in your brain, the idea that you're doing the wrong things becomes less and less and less, because you got into the habit. This is what Ramadan is trying to do by fasting. You're trying to get into the habit of doing the right thing. And one important right thing you must do is to help the whole of humanity. But you start with your own family. Let me ask you a question. Okay? You're playing a video game and you're at a critical juncture. You're going to be moved up to level 1947. Yes? And there is washing up to be done in the kitchen. And your mom is not too well. So what should you do? Carry on with the game and get your level 1497, or give it up and go and do the washing up? Which is more important? Which is the right thing to do? Yes, the second one. Yeah. Because you start off by learning to help your own family. And then you help your neighbors. See, when you're fasting, okay, you're supposed to go to your neighbor to the right and go to your neighbor to the left and ask them, have you got anything to eat to break your fast? And then to the neighbor across the road. To make sure, before you break your fast, make sure all your neighbors have something to eat. Because, and the important thing to remember is this, those neighbors don't have to be Muslims. You are checking every one of your neighbors has something to eat, whether they're Hindus or whether they're Christians or Sikhs or Jews or whatever their religion might be. You're trying to make sure that in the community that you live in, everyone has at least something to eat. And there are some wonderful things you see, like if you go to a grocery store, Lidl or Tesco or Asda, there are just shopping carts past the checkouts, and people do their shopping and they put a part of it in that shopping cart for people who can't afford to buy food and so on. And I think that's a wonderful idea. You just put it there and you leave and you go home. And then the circle of people that you want to help extends. If you don't do this, then what happens is you end up with what's happening in Ukraine and what's happening in Gaza, that people don't care for others. They're little babies who are starving to death in Gaza. They're little children who don't have any shoes in Gaza. There is little or no medication in Gaza. Doctors have been killed or forced to leave, etc. And I find it amazing that one human being can do this amount of brutality to another human being without feeling anything. And that's the whole point about Ramadan. That it prepares you to deal with hardships and it prepares you to feel for others. As the saying goes, that do unto others as you would have them do to you. If you're going to punch someone on the nose, for a second think, how would I feel if someone punched me on the nose? And Hazrat Amir, Dr. Abdul Karim Said, has sent this message, which starts with the second verse that I recited, and be not like the woman who unravels her yarn, disintegrating it into pieces after she has spun it strongly. What does that mean? That, Eid, we're celebrating Eid. Eid means a day of happiness that comes over and over again, ever recurring day of happiness. And of course, we have good reason to be happy and to celebrate because we have successfully completed our devotional services during Ramadan. As a result, we have within us a soul which is now strong. Healthier and happier because souls thrive when we follow commands of Allah. Allah is Ar-Rahman, compassionate. So if you expect God to be compassionate to you, don't you think God should expect you to be compassionate to your fellow men? And He's compassionate because He provided us with Ramadan, which is an annual opportunity to concentrate on the duties which Allah prescribed for us in the Holy Quran. Today, our souls feel well nourished and well clad because of our crying out Allah's commands. By following the Holy Quran, we fulfill the conditions which are conducive for the progress of our soul. You know, you see boxers, you see weightlifters, they go to the gym every day and they train. They do weightlifting and practice boxing. Footballers practice football. This is just like that. And because of that practice, they become more skilled in boxing or football or cricket or weightlifting or whatever it is. The same thing happens during Ramadan, that our soul inside us progresses. But then what happens is, it grows weak when we go against Allah's commands. And the spiritual garment with which we had clothed our spirit is shredded to pieces. It's just like the boxer or the weight trainer or the athlete. If he stops practicing, what happens? He becomes weak. He loses his skill. Our action then is comparable to the woman described in this verse of the Holy Quran, which has been recited above, that a woman spends all day making yarn, and then at the end of the day, she unravels. She undoes all the benefit, all the good that she had achieved through her hard work. And if at the end of Ramadan, we forget the lessons, we forget how to correctly deal with difficulties of life, then this is what we have done. Eid al-Fitr is a day of resolve not to shred the lovely spiritual garment that we spun for ourselves during, or for our soul during the month of Ramadan. Let us resolve on this day that we will not do any deed which harms our souls. The verse recited above is preceded by words regarding the fulfillment of our covenants with Allah and holding fast our oaths. May Allah grant us the strength and determination to stay steadfast to our covenants and our oaths. A very happy Eid to all of you. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil Azim wa nafana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun karimun malikun barraufur rahim. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. You can join me in the durood. اللهم بارك ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma ansur man nasara dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam waj'alna minhum. Waqsul man khazala dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa la taj'alna minhum. O Allah, protect and make victorious the religion of Muhammad and support those who work for this cause. O Allah, humiliate those who work to denigrate and humiliate the deen of Muhammad, and be not with them. Ibadallah rahmakumullah, inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'izukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Uzkurullaha yazkurkum wad'uhu yastajib lakum wa la zikrullahi akbar. Wallahu ya'lamu ma tasna'un. A very happy day to you, Eid Mubarak. May you learn the lessons of Ramadan, even if you didn't fast. Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz.